Betty hires Ray, a broker, to assist her with locating a tenant for her basement apartment. Betty informs Ray that the tenant is not allowed to have a pet. Ray places an advertisement on social media and indicates that pets are not allowed for this rental. Ray receives an application from an individual with a service animal and reviews it with Betty. Even though the prospective tenant meets all the qualification requirements, Betty tells Ray she will not rent the apartment to the tenant because of the animal. Ray informs Betty that she's in violation of the Fair Housing Act and state fair housing laws.
Okay, so that's the scenario. Now the question is Ray correct? Go ahead and try your chat feature right now. Just say yes or no on that. Let's see, all right, we all got yeses. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Everyone's doing a yes on that. Perfect. Yes is a service animal.
John owns a residential house and decides to use it as a rental property. In his advertisement, John notes that no pets will be allowed in the property. He receives several applications and evaluates each based on employment, creditworthiness, and criminal history. He selects a tenant and notifies the individual that the application was approved. 1 week after signing the lease agreement, the new tenant emails John and asks for an accommodation for his assistance animal, a pig. John denies the request, stating that, number one, the pig is not domesticated and may damage the property, and number two, the tenant did not request the accommodation prior to signing the lease. Can John legally deny the accommodation request because it was submitted after the application?
All right, let's try it. Let's see you guys on the chat. Yes or no? Can they deny? Seeing a bunch of yeses. All right. Hey, Daniel Vera, good to see you on here, bud. Daniel, why did you say yes? Why can they deny it? Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had to get unmuted.
Yep, good.
Well, because I kind of agreed that it's a non-domesticated animal.
Pigs are non-domesticated?
And also, it didn't state that he was a realtor. He was a private owner.
Well, so say that again. What's that mean, Daniel?
The fair housing laws, if I remember correctly, don't apply to private owners. You can actually make
you can discriminate the heck out of anyone, right?
Yeah.
Right. Private owners, private power to the private owner, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not used to me, guys, I do play around. I am kind of sarcastic and stuff like that. Daniel's a good friend on here, so I appreciate Daniel knows how we play this kind of game here. Well, let me ask you, Daniel, why do you think the owner because he's a private owner, fair housing doesn't apply?
Because that's what's in my head, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Tiffany out. That's cool, Dan. You go ahead and meet Tiffany. What do you think? What do you think of Daniel's? Welcome back, Tiffany. It's good to see you too. Tiffany, what do you think?
Hello. I mean, I completely agree with what Daniel has just said. I mean, we don't know if he was a realtor or not, so it didn't specify.
So, well, let me ask you, if in fair housing, why do you think it doesn't apply to the individual? Why do you think it only applies? Well, let me ask you a better question, because you said a realtor.
And the code of ethics realtors have and all that.
All that jazz, right?
Yeah.
Right. So let me just clarify: realtor versus licensee, right? When you say realtor, are you just kind of, which is fine, are you kind of using that just as anyone with a real estate license?
No, that's like the realtor. They hold you at higher standards if you're a realtor.
Yeah. Okay. So good. So you're that is correct, everyone, right? As a realtor, you're a member of a group and you're held to a higher standard, which is true. You're held to a different standard, let's say, and you've got some other things you got to consider, which we'll talk about. But as a licensee, which incorporates everyone, including realtors on this. Thanks, Tiff. You can go ahead and mute on that. When we're talking about individuals, guys, first of all, every business owner is a licensee. Everyone here is a licensee. Everyone here, according to the state of North Carolina, is a business owner. Whether you're a sole proprietor, a partnership, an LLC, an S corporation, whatever, you're all an individual business owner. Okay. So let me ask Anthony Zombach. Good to see you, Anthony. Tony, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you, Steve?
Good. So why is this? There's 2 for 2 of people thinking a owner of a property, a landlord, is not a business owner. That's what it sounds like. Tiffany and Daniel are saying they're not business owners. Anthony, are they business owners?
Absolutely, they're business owners. Absolutely.
So if they're
matter.
right, Anthony. So if they're business owners, do they need to apply fair housing?
I believe they do.
You're absolutely right. You're right. Yes, guys. It does not matter that you're, if you are a owner of rental property, you own a business. Period. Okay, and so you've got to go ahead and apply all the rules apply to you, just like they would to SAS or any other licensee or anything else. Right. If you own rental property, you're required to have a trust account if you take deposits. Right. Everyone nod. Right. You all realize that, right? Right. Okay. So the same rules apply here. Now, Daniel had an interesting thing because he was saying it's not a domesticated animal. And so what I want to make sure that we're going to circle back. We got 2 things. We got the first example was a service animal. The second question was about an assisted animal. Okay. Service versus assisted. I want to talk about the service animal first. That's the first one. That was in the first example. Service animal is very specific, and it's a dog. Okay. It's a trained dog. It used to be, some of you, if you've been around for a while, actually up until this year, it used to also be a miniature pony, right? Used to be a miniature pony until the airlines and the cab drivers were like, hey, I can't stick this pony in my cab anymore. So can we do something about this? And so they took the miniature pony off. Okay. So miniature pony is gone. So it's just a dog. And those are the ones that are supposed to be the only ones wearing like those vests and stuff like that. You know, the way you'd remember these guys, right? It's a seeing eye dog, right? That's kind of an easy reference to kind of where we're talking about on that. Now, service animals are considered a part of the person, and it falls under ADA, okay? Americans with Disability Act, ADA. Now, what that means is especially on commercial, ADA applies to commercial and residential. Okay. So if someone with a seeing eye dog walks into Harris Teeter or Food Line or whatever your favorite grocery store is if they walk in, Harris Teeter has to let that dog do whatever it wants to do with that person. Okay. That person's got a service animal, and ADA is the thing that applies to commercial, like the wide hallways, if they have elevators or certain parking spaces. That's on the commercial side. On the residential side, it also applies, meaning the dog does not count as a dog. You can't charge it a pet fee. You can't charge it, and we'll talk later more about dogs and vicious animals and stuff like that. So are there questions? Are there questions on what a service animal is? It's only a dog, and it applies to specifically those trained on it, right? They're actually licensed. Tim Campbell, you good with that? Tim, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I woke you up, big guy. There you go. Good. Awesome. Cool. All right. So we're good with that. The next comes the assisted animal. And this is what kind of gets people. And I see Cindy Faltisco. Cindy, there you go on this. So Cindy, listen to this on this. So Daniel didn't like the whole thing with the assisted animal and the pig, so it wasn't domesticated on that. And while he actually used a pretty good term called the word domesticated on it, but when it comes to housing, Cindy, the United States tends to have a posture, whether we're good at it or not. We're not going to debate all this stuff, but tends to have a posture. We like to make sure people are fed, clothed, and housed, right? So the laws that apply to tenants, the contracts more lean towards the tenant. Are you following me, Cindy, on this? Right? Because why? You have a business owner who owns the property, and then you got the tenant. And if this United States kind of like, hey, look, we want this person to be housed, so, and this is a business, then we're going to kind of, we're going to lean towards that person. We all good with that, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay. So in this particular case, Daniel's got, Daniel's all, Daniel's like, no, chuck the dude out. I don't want him in here. Lied to me on the application. Right, Daniel? Tiffany's with him. Tiffany's they're locking arms. Throw the dude out. Now, why am I going to say, Cindy, the actual answer to this is he's got to let the owner in this last example has got to let the dude with a potbelly pig in. Why do you think? That's the correct answer.
Now I'm confused because you said service animals only dogs, and now you're saying they can have a pig.
So okay, hold on. That's good.
Explain to me.
Yeah. Hold on for 1 second. So good. Hold on. Service animal, only a dog, and that applies to ADA. Okay. And ADA also goes to fair housing to some. Okay, but it sticks with mostly commercial side of it. Okay. That's okay. So service animal, dog, guarantee got to go in. Now we add in this thing called a assisted animal.
Assisted animal.
Yeah,
I mean, from what I understand, and maybe it's changed, is you're allowed to have a bird and all kinds of things at your assistant animal, and you have to let them have it. But I don't know if I'm right.
Well, no, and I'll help you on whether you're right or not. Trust me, Cindy. So here, you're on.
But I mean, I feel like they have to listen to the renter. I mean, I don't know why, but
no, you got a good instinct on it. And here's where I want you guys to go, because this is you're going to have to embrace kind of this thing. So the assisted animal, that's the so I've got friends. My son, I told you, he's in the military. So PTSD, right? ADA applies to specific illnesses such as you're blind. Okay. Then we have a thing that is not an injury or a defined illness that applies to assisted animals, which is a broader topic. So it's outside of ADA, right? ADA is very specific, and it applies more to the fair housing. So an assisted animal is someone who says, they're like dogs that help identify strokes, right? Or seizures, these kinds of things that are happening. Okay, those don't necessarily apply on the ADA side. There's some definite overlap. So you have someone who has an assisted animal, and let me explain, Cindy, the difference and for everyone. I call them the pocket puppies. Okay, these little Chihuahua looking. So if you're a fan of a small puppy, all good. But you got these pocket puppies, and you see them going into, and I'll tell you, I go into Harris Teeter. That's the grocery store of choice. I go into Harris Teeter, and they're just like sniffing around. They're not COVID protected. They're not wearing their masks, right? So they're sniffing the broccoli and the cauliflower, and so Harris Teeter does not need to let that person into their store. There's no requirement for them to have it. The only requirement for the business, any business, is the service animal. Okay? The assisted animal, while it's fine, it's something that is considered to help people, does not apply on the commercial side. Now, it does apply on the residential side, and there are some rules regarding that on the residential side. The first one, Daniel used the term domesticated. It has to be a domesticated animal. It can't be an alligator, giraffe, something like that on it. But a pig, and the commission kind of purposely, I think, just used pig, but a potbelly pig is considered today a domesticated animal on it. And so, yes, they could. Now, let's go. I'm sure there's some questions that you guys all have on some of this. So you're an apartment manager. You got someone that comes in. Let's just assume it's like the example we just went through. You're an apartment manager and someone comes in and it's after the fact. Remember, it doesn't matter when it happens. If they're a part of your apartment complex or they're applying and they have a assisted animal, you cannot use that against them. Okay? That assisted animal is just like that person. Okay? So it's got to be domesticated though. So fine, like a dog, a cat, a rabbit, pot-bellied pig, a snake. These kinds of things that are domesticated can be considered assisted animals. Now you can ask for some kind of proof to make sure that they do in fact need that. You can't go and say, well, how long are you going to be sick? Right? You can't be like, look, how long is this pot-bellied pig going to be taking care of your business? Right? You can't be doing that. Right? You just have to ask them, okay, well, let me see some verification you need to have this pig. Okay. And a lot of times, like I was bringing up, like say the VA, right? The VA, it might not be an actual doctor that writes the I'll call it the script, the prescription. It's usually a letter or something like that. But it's going to be a representative. It'll actually be signed by it'll have a VA stationery on it or something. I know some of you are probably already thinking, Steve, it ain't nothing to go Google VA stationery and try and sign something on. I hear you. But again, we're leaning more towards the tenant than we are to the business owner when it comes to this. Is everyone good with that? And so doesn't matter what time they bring it up. You ask them for it. You cannot charge a pet deposit for it because they're not considered a pet. You can, if let's say you have we use I call it a vicious dog, but what's it? Michael Germain. What's it called? What is it like the dogs, like Dobermans and stuff? What's that called? Michael, do you hear me? Just unmute yourself, bud.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, we got a lot of feedback. All right, Michael, check that out.
I follow what you're saying, but I don't exactly know what you want me to say. I mean,
well, I don't. What's
pit bulls, German shepherds, and whatnot. I don't understand.
Oh, great. Okay, so no, someone helped us out on chat. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Michael. Thank you. Lauren put up there aggressive breeds. Perfect. Aggressive breeds. Thank you. So there might be an apartment thing where we don't allow aggressive breeds, and it don't matter. So if someone comes in and you don't have aggressive breeds and they bring in a Doberman on it, you got to let the Doberman in. Okay. Now, well, my tenants are complaining about it. We don't care about your tenants. We don't care about them complaining about it. The only time we would care about that is if that Doberman actually was aggressive to someone else in the complex. That's when we can start addressing the dog being a particular issue. Okay. Now, if that dog goes in, and I talked about like damage and stuff, right? Because a lot of people will have pet deposits and all. Well, you can't apply a pet deposit. And so Anthony's on back. You stop that, Anthony. I saw him put it on there. So fair housing isn't fair. We're not going. Well, I might go down that route sometime. So anyway, we'll see. So the pet, you can't charge a pet deposit, but what you can charge or you can use is the deposit if there's any damage done. So like if you have that Doberman go in, perfectly good, it's at the end of the lease, but that Doberman chewed up the baseboard or tore up the carpet, you would charge the tenant, you would take it out of their deposit just as if the tenant damaged the apartment. Does that make sense? So the dog is part of the person. So then if it's part of the person, then what I charge is I take it out of that deposit, right? Different than an animal, meaning, if it's just, I'm bringing my pet cat in, I don't have any issues, and your pet cat destroys part of the house, then that's what the deposit is. A pet deposit's used for that.